Breaking news. What Vladimir Putin has done to further entrench his power in Russia by appealing to homophobia. Outlawing the LGBTQ+ international public movement is the goal of a lawsuit that the Ministry of Justice has launched. To what extent does this relate to the conflict in Ukraine and Putin's control over the country? On Friday, November 17, the Russian Ministry of Justice announced that it has petitioned the Supreme Court of the country to declare the LGBTQ+ international public movement illegal because of the extremist ideologies it promotes and the social and religious strife it incites. Whether this lawsuit will go after particular organizations or the LGBTQ+ community at large is still up in the air. But experts warn that it could lead to state-sanctioned persecution of the LGBTQ+ community in Russia. Essentially, it would entail criminal prosecution based solely on one's orientation or identity, a Russian LGBTQ+ activist told the Moscow Times during an interview. Russian President Vladimir Putin's administration has consistently stressed traditional family values for the past decade, and this is the most recent example of their crackdown on gay rights. The so-called gay propaganda law was passed by the Kremlin in 2013, prohibiting, among other things, the non-critical portrayal of non-traditional sexual relations among children. All adults were included in the scope of this law in December 2022, in an apparent attempt to legitimize the invasion by highlighting the contrast between the decadent West and Putin's regime, which protected traditional values. The Kremlin intensified its homophobic rhetoric as domestic support for a protracted campaign dwindled and the Russian invasion of Ukraine ground to a halt. As a people, we were under attack from within, and their goal was to replace our traditional values with their own false ones. Viewpoints that are fundamentally at odds with human nature and are consequently causing deterioration and degradation, Putin stated in a February 2022 televised speech. What the Orthodox Church does. Even Putin's longtime ally and head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, has joined the Kremlin's anti-LGBTQ+ crusade. In his defense of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Kirill drew a connection to gay pride parades. Sin is just one way that people act, and pride parades are a way to show that. That's why, he declared in a March 2022 sermon, a gay pride parade is a prerequisite to joining the Club of Those Nations, NATO. According to Kirill, the breakaway republics of Ukraine have fundamentally rejected gay pride parades, which he characterized as a loyalty test to Western governments. As a result, the invasion of Russia is far more important than politics. Opinion: the claims of Russia's collapse are substantially inflated. Out of Russia's total population of about 140 million, more than 100 million identify as Orthodox Christians. The Russian Orthodox Church has maintained tight relations with the Kremlin throughout history, including during some Soviet eras of rule. Wartime Russia's last great conflict, Stalin rallied the country's religious leaders to rally the troops, consolidating power. The LGBTQ+ boogeyman. Disputes over sexual behavior often become the vehicles for displacing social anxieties and discharging their attendant emotional intensity, wrote anthropologist Gail Rubin in Thinking Sex. Notes for a Radical Theory of the Politics of Sexuality, 2007.